Prime Minister Mark Carney was a special guest at a summit of European leaders over the weekend, the first non-European leader to receive an invitation of this kind.
To promote peace and to ensure shared prosperity. On all these levels, Canada is more than a like-minded, it is a close partner.
In his remarks, Prime Minister Carney said Canada is moving closer to its European partners. And in a nod to his Davos speech, where he warned of a rupture of the rules-based order, Carney said that order will be rebuilt out of Europe.
Canada just did something huge that shocked the world. While the US is losing trust with many allies, Prime Minister Mark Carney was invited to a major European summit that was made only for Europe's top leaders. Mark Carney returned from Armenia having done something no Canadian Prime Minister and no leader from outside Europe has ever done before. He attended the 8th European Political Community Summit in Yerevan, marking the first time a non-European leader joined the summit. The EPC was created in the immediate aftermath of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine as a forum for European leaders to coordinate on war, economic instability, and the shifting global order. It was built for Europe. Carney was invited as a guest of honor. And the conversations he had there with the leaders of France, Italy, Poland, Spain, Ukraine, Armenia, the European Council, the European Commission, and the European Parliament were not ceremonial, they were strategic. Carney met with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and European Council President Antonio Costa. A readout from the Prime Minister's office said the leaders discussed deepening collaboration in areas such as supply chains, critical minerals, energy, and technologies. That list of topics is a precise description of the structural interdependence Canada and the EU are actively building, not through declarations of shared values, but through specific commercial and security arrangements that create durable connections across the Atlantic. Carney suggested it will be up to Europe to repair the rift in the international order. That system has been greatly weakened and needs to be rebuilt. And rebuilt perhaps in a different way, but rebuilt based on the same principles, he explained in Ottawa on Tuesday. That framing the international order rebuilt out of Europe, with Canada positioned as a constructive partner in that rebuilding, has become the organizing principle of Canadian foreign policy under Carney. It is not abstract. It connects directly to the specific institutional commitments Canada has been making over the past year. In June 2025, Canada and the EU launched the new EU-Canada Strategic Partnership of the Future and the Security and Defense Partnership, a framework that promotes collaboration in digital transformation, including artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and digital infrastructure, as well as security and defense activities under a single political framework. In February 2026, Canada became the first non-European country to join the EU's Security Action for Europe, the SAFE initiative, unlocking billions of dollars in opportunities and market access for Canadian defense industries, businesses, and workers. The SAFE initiative is the most significant of these commitments because it directly addresses the defense procurement dimension of the Canada-EU relationship. European defense spending is expanding at historic rates. NATO's new 5% GDP target has put the bloc in a sustained rearmament posture that will require industrial capacity on a scale Europe is still building toward. Canadian defense companies now have access to that procurement market. The contracts that follow from SAFE membership are not one-time transactions. They are the foundation of an industrial relationship that deepens with every contract awarded, every facility built, and every technology partnership established. The EU's ambassador to Canada, Geneviève Toots, appeared on CBC's Power and Politics on Tuesday following Carney's return from Armenia and addressed directly the question of where the Canada-EU relationship is heading. Toots dismissed the idea of EU membership outright, but said Canada and the EU should look for something else, something stronger than what we have today. She stated, "We have to be creative, we have to be innovative, and we are creative in Europe. We have ideas. The legal constraint is clear. EU membership requires a state to be a European country under the Copenhagen criteria, a list of specific values including stable democratic institutions, the rule of law, and human rights, which states that any European state which respects these values may apply." Canada is geographically not in Europe. Full membership is not on the table. but Tuts was explicit that the geographic limitation does not mean the relationship should stop at its current level. The EU is willing to develop new forms of partnership, forms that do not yet exist in the institutional architecture of transatlantic relations, specifically to accommodate what both sides are building with Canada. Recent polling suggests the idea of Canada joining the EU is gaining popularity within Europe. The notion has been floated by France's Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot and Finnish President Alexander Stubb. That the conversation is happening at all, that French and Finnish leaders are publicly raising the question of a non-European country's membership in the European Union, reflects how significantly the geopolitical environment has shifted. 3 years ago, the suggestion would have been treated as a curiosity. Today, it is a serious discussion about institutional innovation in response to a changed world. The Trade Foundation underlying all of this diplomatic activity is documented and substantial. Last June, Canada and the EU announced a new strategic partnership to strengthen cooperation across trade, technology, energy, and security. The EU is Canada's second largest global trading partner for goods and services, with a total value of $178.6 billion in 2025. Since the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, CETA, began provisional application, trade in goods and services has increased by 71%. That growth predates the current diplomatic intensification. What Canada and the EU are now adding to the commercial foundation is a security and defense layer, a critical minerals layer, an energy layer, and a digital and AI cooperation layer that transforms the relationship from a trade agreement into a comprehensive strategic partnership. A senior EU official described the Armenia summit as an opportunity to emphasize that Europe's security is a 360-degree challenge. Regarding Canada's unprecedented invitation, analysts noted the EPC was initially perceived as an anti-Putin club. With the invitation to Canada, this initiative, which was initially driven by geography, is now taking on an anti-Trump slant. That characterization captures the specific dynamic driving the acceleration of Canada-EU ties. Both Canada and the EU are managing uncertainty from Washington tariffs applied without stable legal foundation. Agreements reached and then breached, security commitments questioned, and allies punished for refusing to support military operations they consider strategically incoherent. Ambassador Tuts confirmed the EU's position on Washington's latest tariff threat on European cars. We are very close to that vision, and we are now working and building on that to deepen even more than before the relationship we have. She stated the EU intends to honor its commitments and expects the US to do the same, but warned all options remain open to protect EU interests. In Armenia, Carney also announced that Canada will contribute $270 million to help Ukraine secure critical military capabilities in its defense against Russia's full-scale invasion. That commitment, delivered at a European summit on European soil alongside European leaders, establishes Canada's role not as an observer of European security, but as an active participant in it, a country that shows up, contributes resources, and can be relied upon when the situation is most serious. The partnership being built between Canada and the EU is not yet complete. The creative and innovative forms that Ambassador Tuts described have not yet been formally defined, but the trajectory is established, the institutional foundations are in place, and both sides have demonstrated through concrete commitments that the relationship will continue deepening regardless of what Washington does next.